Let's speak to journalist Antony Loewenstein, who joins us now from Jerusalem. Good to have you with us. So the pressure mounting against Mr. Netanyahu. If the prosecutor decides that these trials are going ahead, what does that mean for him politically?
That's a very good question. I mean, the short answer is we don't really know. This has never happened before in Israeli political history. Netanyahu, what he's trying to do and try to build a coalition at the moment with like-minded parties in the parliament here, the Knesset, is to get some kind of immunity deal that even if he is put on trial, that he can't be found guilty in a way that means he has to leave office, which is kind of an absurd situation. I mean, some of these corruption cases, as your reporter said, are pretty serious. And what he's hoping to do is form a coalition and avoid prosecution and therefore avoid jail and avoid having to resign. But at the moment, in the current state of play, he's finding it very hard to actually form a government, and it's very possible that this week the alternative to Netanyahu, Benny Gantz, may be tasked by the president to try to form government, but that's not even assured either. So it's unclear, but Netanyahu, I think, is facing a lot of growing problems.
I know he fought quite hard to have the pre-hearings broadcast live, which has been denied. Why did he want to do that? Did he think that he would gain more public sympathy?
I think that's what he hopes. I mean, Netanyahu is a survivor, as everyone knows. It's almost a cliche to say that. But the truth of the matter is that he's hoping that public opinion will go more on his side, that the president who decides who potentially forms government will be more sympathetic to him. But I think ultimately there is a desperation there. He is really worried that he will be facing serious jail time. And the ultimate reality, though, sadly, for many Palestinians, millions of whom could not vote in the recent election due to the occupation here, is it actually makes very little difference. If Netanyahu survives or Benny Gantz, the alternative, wins. In terms of their policies towards the Palestinians, they are virtually identical. So although it's important whether Netanyahu stays or goes, of course, the bottom line for the key issue facing this country, which is the occupation is now 52 years old, will not change one iota, or very little anyway, if Benny Gantz takes over from Netanyahu, which is a really sad state of affairs.
I mean, you have a situation where both those men could struggle to form a coalition. At this point in time, how likely is the dreaded spectacle of a third election?
Possible. Unbelievably very possible. I mean, Benny Gantz at the moment also doesn't have a clear path to the magical 61 seats that's required in the Knesset, the parliament here. So I think the idea of a third election is not Netanyahu does not want, because every election this year, there's been two now, his support has declined. And of course, what's going to happen in the coming weeks, we're going to see almost certainly that the Attorney General will demand that there's a trial for Netanyahu. So his support is likely to decrease again at a third election, either this year or early next year. So he's trying to avoid that. And frankly, the Israeli people are pretty angry that the third election will happen. But again, let's not forget, if there's a third election, around 5 million Palestinians will not be able to vote in that election. That's the Gaza and West Bank, which just sort of shows what kind of sham democracy we're talking about here.
Antony, good to speak with you. Thank you very much indeed for that. Antony Loewenstein there. Now, a giant iceberg has detached from Antarctica's Amery ice shelf. It's more than 1,600 square kilometres and weighs some 315 billion tonnes. But despite its size, scientists say this is a normal event and not related to climate change. Specialists will now monitor and track the iceberg to prevent it from causing problems to international shipping. The death toll in northern India has risen to more than 148 people. Heavy monsoon rains have caused floods in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Almost 900 inmates from a prison in Uttar Pradesh had to be moved. India's monsoon rains usually ease off at the start of September, but this year they're still going strong. Let's get the sports news now with Samantha Johnson.
OK, we kick things off with a huge night of Champions League action with the Matchday 2 group games taking place. Let's take a look at what's on offer tonight. And it's all eyes on London as last year's finalists Tottenham take on the Bavarian giants Bayern Munich. Real Madrid face Club Brugge.